Fans are wondering if this is the end of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's famous love story. For years, McGraw and Hill have been the picture of true love, with hit duets and a beautiful family. Their bond seemed unbreakable, but now shocking news has fans wondering, is something heartbreaking tearing them apart? What's really going on behind closed doors? Stay with us as we look into the truth behind the headlines, exploring the heartache, hope, and unbreakable bond that keeps McGraw and Hill together even in the face of adversity. Tim and Faith have been more than just music royalty for over 20 years. Their beautiful duets have told stories of love, passion, and unwavering devotion off stage, and their marriage has weathered the storms of fame, while raising 3 daughters and holding on to the kind of love that seems rare in the glitzy world of show business. But now rumors of a heartbreaking turn in their story have fans holding their breath. How did it all start? Was their love story always as perfect as it seemed? Let's start at the beginning. Every great love story has a beginning, but Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's didn't happen in front of packed arenas or under the stars. Their paths could not have been more different, but fate brought them together, and when you look at where they came from, it's easy to see how those early years shaped them as people and as a couple. Tim McGraw was born on May 1, 1967, in Delhi, Louisiana, a small town. His mother, Betty D'Agostino, raised him alone after she and his father broke up when he was a baby. He grew up in a modest working-class home where money was tight. His mother worked hard to provide for him, and they often lived in less than ideal conditions. For most of his childhood, he didn't know who his real father was. He thought his stepfather, Horace Smith, was his biological father. But when he was 11, he found his birth certificate and found out that his real father was. It turns out that Tim's father was the famous Major League Baseball pitcher Tug McGraw. At first, Tug didn't want much to do with him, and that rejection hurt, but Tim didn't let it break him. He put his heart into something else: music. He taught himself how to play the guitar by listening to country stars like George Strait and Merle Haggard. The guitar became his escape, and a way to dream bigger than the small town he grew up in. He eventually built a relationship with his father, but it was not until much later in life. Those early years of struggle made Tim McGraw the tough and passionate person he is today. He went to Nelson High School in Start, Louisiana, but he wasn't a star athlete or class president. He was just another kid trying to find his way in the world. It wasn't until he was in college at Northeast Louisiana University, now University of Louisiana at Monroe, that he started to seriously pursue a career in music. He joined the university band and started playing in local clubs. A little girl named Audrey Faith Perry was living a very different life on the side of the tracks about 300 m away in Ridgeland, Mississippi. She was born on. Faith Perry was adopted by a couple named Ed and Teddy Perry when she was only 2 weeks old. The Perrys were a devout Christian family who raised Faith in a strict home that stressed faith, discipline, and hard work. From a young age, Faith showed a natural talent for singing. She often sang in the church choir, where her love of music was fostered, but she also don't just want to sing at church. Faith had a dream for herself that went far beyond the Mississippi border. As a teenager, Faith went to McLaurin High School, where she was a star student and famous for her singing. But it was her love of country music that really made her stand out. Faith would often listen to artists like Patti Cline, Loretta Lynn, and Emily Lou Harris, whose voices made her want to pursue a career in country music. By the time she was a Faith was the type of kid who believed that if you wanted something, you had to go after it, no matter what. That's exactly what she did when she was 19. She packed her bags, left her quiet hometown, and drove to Nashville, chasing a future that felt a million miles away. Now here's the crazy part. Tim and Faith's early lives couldn't have been more different, but they both had a strong desire for something more. They both knew what it was like to feel out of place and want a life that beyond the one they were born into, which may be why when their paths finally crossed, it felt like fate. Sometimes the most memorable love stories start in the most unexpected places, and for Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, their humble beginnings were just the start of something much bigger. But how did these two dreamers meet? Their first meeting wasn't some big movie-like moment. It happened in 1994 at a Nashville event, where both were starting their careers. Tim was already famous for his rising stardom in country music, and Faith was working hard to make a name for herself. They briefly met and exchanged pleasantries, but it wasn't love at first sight, at least not yet. As the saying goes, timing is everything, and it couldn't have been more true for them. Their lives were busy, and their careers were taking off, but something was still missing. Little did they know that their love story was just beginning in 1996, when Tim asked Faith to open for him on his Spontaneous Combustion tour. Sparks really flew. Now here's the interesting part. At this point, Faith was already engaged to music producer Scott Henderson, but as the tour went on, and they spent more time together, something changed. They couldn't deny the chemistry between them. The connection was undeniable, and it wasn't long before they started to feel more strongly about each other, even though Faith was in a committed relationship with Scott Henderson. Faith could not hide what was going on between her and Tim, and the more they toured together, the stronger their feelings for each other became. Eventually, Faith made the heartbreaking decision to break off her engagement to Scott. It was hard, but she knew that Tim McGraw was the person she wanted to be with. By October 6, 1996, Tim and Faith were already deeply in love and couldn't wait to make it official. But instead of a big public wedding like you might expect, they had a small private ceremony. They chose a much more private wedding in Rayville, Louisiana, with only close family and friends present. It was a quiet, private event that was very different from the attention they were used to. The world didn't know it yet, but the country music scene was about to witness the birth of one of its most iconic and beloved power couples. And just like that, a love story was born that would captivate millions and stand the test of time. But how did they meet? The pressures of the public eye, personal challenges, and unexpected turns made their love story even more special. Now that we've seen how Tim and Faith met and built their relationship, let's talk about something even more important: their family. The love they share for each other and their children has always been at the heart of their marriage. But how do you balance having a very successful career with raising a family? When it came to having children, Tim and Faith were clear they wanted to do both. They didn't just want to be country music stars. They wanted to build a home, a life, and a legacy. The next part of their journey began when they had their first child, Gracie. Gracie McGraw was born on May 5, 1997, and like all first children, she caused a lot of changes in Tim and Faith's lives. Gracie grew up knowing that her parents were famous, but they were determined to keep her childhood as normal as possible. She spent her early years on the road with her parents. Even though she comes from a famous family, she was kept out of the public eye as much as possible. Tim and Faith did their best to make sure she had a normal childhood like their other kids, but it didn't take long for her to become interested in music. Next up was Maggie McGraw, born August 12, 1998. While Gracie found her passion on stage, Maggie found hers in environmental activism, a cause she's dedicated a lot of her life to. It's clear that Maggie's heart beats for something bigger than herself. Finally, on December 6, 2001, Tim and Faith welcomed their third daughter, Audrey McGraw. Audrey has shown interest in modeling and acting, and with her beauty and charm, it looks like she has a bright future in the spotlight. Now here's the tricky part: raising kids while living in the spotlight isn't easy. Between the award shows and constant media attention, it would have been easy for. Despite their fame, Tim and Faith were determined to keep their family life as normal as possible. They put their family ahead of their careers, and have said many times in interviews that the key to making it all work was clear communication and a shared commitment to their children. They didn't want their daughters to grow up too much in the public eye, so they kept their private lives private and didn't show off their kids for the cameras. Instead, they made time for family dinners, trips, and other simple activities that helped their girls feel grounded. Could you imagine being a megastar and still trying to make every moment count with your family? It's not easy, but Tim and Faith made it look easy. In some ways, their family-first attitude may be why their relationship has lasted so long. They've always put their loved ones first. Two famous people met and started a happy family, but even the most perfect lives have flaws, and Tim and Faith started to show in ways that shocked their fans. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, Tim McGraw's life started to go in a direction that no one saw coming. At the height of his fame, he was struggling with addiction, which he kept from the public eye for years. Behind the scenes, Tim was having a hard time. He had always been known as a strong, sure of himself person. As Tim's behavior became more unpredictable, and his relationships with his loved ones started to strain, Faith Hill reportedly reached a breaking point. At one point, she reportedly told him, "Get sober or lose everything, including your family." Talk about a wake-up call. In 2013, Tim decided it was time to make a change. He went sober, and he credits Faith with saving his life. Can you imagine the love it took to be there for him when he needed her the most, but just when things seemed to be going wrong? To be calming down, another storm erupted in 2013. There were rumors that Tim had been seeing some of his female fans too much, and rumors of trouble in paradise began to spread. Let's be honest, it's hard to avoid rumors when you live in the public eye, but Faith wasn't having any of it. She publicly denied the rumors, saying that their marriage was stronger than ever. But how do you stay strong when everyone else is weak? Do you think Faith had a reason to worry, or was this just a case of people trying to bring them down? In 2015, more rumors started to spread, this time about Faith's appearance. Some tabloids said she had plastic surgery to improve her looks, citing her changing looks. It's crazy, right? People couldn't just let Faith age naturally. They had to think she was doing something to look younger or better. But Faith wasn't going to let that go. She responded with grace. Faith denied the rumors and said that her good looks came from aging gracefully and living a healthy life. She has always been open about her commitment to health, and this was just another reminder that getting older doesn't mean changing who you are. Do you think there is too much pressure on them to stay young forever? Then there was the famous incident in 2014, when a female fan grabbed Tim on stage during a show. In an instant, Tim slapped the fan's hand away. Anger spread quickly on the internet, with some fans saying it was inappropriate, and others saying it was a self-defense move. Faith quickly defended Tim in public, saying that he was reacting to someone invading his personal space. But the controversy still caused a lot of debate. It was one of those times when you'd have to decide if you'd stand by your partner, no matter what, or if the public backlash would make you question your commitment. There were controversies, but the McGraws were about to face something much more personal, that would test their strength in ways that no public scandal ever could. It was their health. It's one thing to fight the public eye, but it's a whole other fight when your own body starts betraying you. In 2017, Faith Hill faced a challenge that no one could have seen coming: vocal cord problems that forced her to cancel several shows on their Soul to Soul tour. For a singer like Faith, whose voice was her, she had surgery to fix the problem, but people were still worried about her future in music. You can't imagine how much pressure she must have felt. It wasn't just about taking time off. She was afraid of losing the ability to do what she loved most. Do you think it's hard for someone who is so passionate about their career to have to suddenly step back because of their health? Fans were worried. Would she ever be able to sing again at the level she was known for? Come back. It was a hard chapter, but Faith fought through it and came back stronger. But that experience would stay with her. A year later, in 2018, another shocking health scare hit the McGraw family during a concert in Ireland. Tim McGraw passed out on stage from dehydration. He looked sick, and the sight of him fainting in front of thousands of fans sent shockwaves through the crowd and around the world. Of course, Faith was there, and she rushed to his side, and the crowd fell silent. Fans and Faith herself were shocked when Tim woke up. This wasn't just about one bad show. It was about Tim's health, his life, and what the future held. Fast forward to 2023 or 2024, and reports started to spread that Faith Hill was fighting a degenerative medical condition. For a family that had already been through a lot, this news was heartbreaking. Faith, who had always been the picture of health and vitality, stopped making public appearances, and Tim reportedly cut back on his work. Faith's absence from the spotlight added fuel to the fire of rumors. Some people thought her health was the reason she'd pulled back, while others thought the worst. What no one expected, though, was the fallout from her health problems. For years, fans thought that Tim and Faith's love was unbreakable, but even the strongest bonds can be tested. Could this be the moment when everything changes? After years of standing tall in the spotlight, Tim McGraw made a heartbreaking decision that fans were shocked when, in 2024, he said he was stepping away from music to be with Faith. For a man who had spent decades topping the country music charts, walking away wasn't easy, but when the person you love needs you, everything else takes a back seat. Tim's priority became clear:
Faith and their 3 daughters came first. No sold-out tour, no award, nothing mattered more than spending time with the people who meant the most to him. While everyone else speculated, Tim quietly focused on what really mattered, being there. But if you thought that was emotional, wait until you hear about his farewell performance in 2025. That night was already emotional, but when Tim took the mic to honor Faith, you could hear a pin drop because he was so moved. He dedicated It's Your Love, the song that captured the magic of their early romance, to her, and fans couldn't hold back their tears. It wasn't just a performance, it was a love letter. He told everyone that he wasn't going anywhere, no matter how bad things got. Can you picture that moment? The arena was packed, but behind closed doors, his heart belonged to just one person. Life wasn't as perfect though. Faith's health kept getting worse, and Tim had to balance his career with being a rock for his family. Rumors spread that he was getting ready for the unthinkable, a heartbreaking goodbye. After all they've been through, the highs and the heartbreaking lows, one question still lingers. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill have a history of surprising fans when we least expect it. Could there be one last unforgettable duet, a farewell performance that reminds us why we fell in love with their love story in the first place? Or has the curtain quietly closed on their time in the spotlight together? There have been rumors of a possible public appearance, but neither Tim nor Faith has confirmed anything. Some fans think that silence speaks louder than words. Some people think they're just trying to keep things private during a tough time, while others think Faith's health might make a return impossible. Either way, everyone is waiting for one last look at the couple who made us believe in forever. Is this the end of their story, or will love win out in the end? When it comes to Tim and Faith, it's never over until it's over.